Welcome, everyone. I'm Amy Seeley, president of Seeley Test Pros and Leap, helping students to succeed in all kinds of tests from 8th grade to grad school throughout Ohio.
And I'm Mike Bergen, president of Chariot Learning, helping students with tests, school, and life based out of Rochester, New York.
Between the two of us today, we have over 60 years of experience at the highest levels of the test preparation and supplemental education industries.
We both love to talk and learn about the latest issues in education, testing, and admissions. So let's get down to tests and the rest. The fascinating independent educational consultant we want to profile today is Steve Tapper. We're so glad to be speaking with you today, Steve. How are you?
Great. Thanks, Amy and Mike. I really appreciate being on.
So, Steve, tell us a little bit about where you are and what you do.
I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm an independent college counselor with Tapper College Counseling, and I work with students in Atlanta and across the U.S.
So can you tell us a little about how did you get your start in college consulting, and what did you do before you moved into this career field?
This is a good story.
Well, when I was in law school, so hint, I had another career before this.
Reformed lawyer. Let's see, we've heard this before.
I helped my younger sister with her college essays, and I loved it. And I did take a detour after that for a while and was an attorney mostly with the federal government. And I loved researching colleges and the admissions process when our kids were in high school. I devoured everything I could, several podcasts and blogs and everything I could get my hands on. We did hire IECs to work with our kids, and I enjoyed the process. Despite it being with our kids, I figured I would enjoy it more with other people's kids.
Most of us would prefer to work with other people's children.
which I have. I've always loved helping people, and I've always loved writing. I was tired of litigation. It was a little confrontational. I spent a lot of time in airports because I worked the last 17 years of my career with TSA and in the employment area. And I found that I was enjoying the college research and podcasts and related things a lot more than my legal work. So I took an early out from TSA, and around the same time, I started and completed pretty quickly the UCLA College Counseling Certificate Program. And I did a practicum at the end of that with the College Essay Guys Matchlighters Program, which is great, helping high achieving low-income students with the process. And at the end of that College Counseling Certificate Program, again, a little shorter detour this time. Before becoming an IEC, I worked 2 admission cycles as a seasonal reader in Emory University's Office of Undergraduate Admissions.
It's so interesting because you kind of went into the career sort of ad hoc, and yet you then really, when you decided to be all in, you kind of checked a lot of boxes, right, to sort of be the college advisor you are today.
Definitely. And I went to a Higher Education Consultants Association, HECA conference at the end of my second year working for Emory. And I joined HECA afterwards. I felt like I'd found my people, and also joined the Independent Educational Consultants Association, IECA, and I became an IEC. And that's really how I got my start.
Steve, I want to go back. You said that you spent the last 17 years of your legal career with TSA. Does that mean that you started with TSA when that department was created?
I'd been a lawyer for both in the private sector and with another federal agency before that, but I did start with TSA in 2003, shortly after TSA was created.
Yeah,
so not the very beginning. But definitely very close to the beginning. So it was interesting times back then for sure.
It's amazing. You had pretty much a full legal career. I think you probably experienced more than your share of headaches. And then I think about it. I could see how the research aspect of the legal profession might lend itself to the process through which you came to really appreciate college admissions.
Definitely. I always liked researching cases and applying facts to the law. And as an IEC, I love researching colleges, both being on campuses in person as well as all the online research that's out there. And there's so many tools out there, it's really hard to decide between them which ones to use. But there are a lot of great tools out there. And yeah, definitely was a natural transition.
So you told us a bit about your initial training. How has your practice evolved since you founded it?
Yeah, I definitely, had a lot of training and just as a quick background, I was an essay specialist for College Essay Guy and also worked for another IEC's firm. And then I founded my own company, Tapper College Counseling. And at the beginning, something real important that I did is I hired a couple of experienced IECs who worked together to advise me on business practices, standardizing a curriculum and work plan, so on. So shout out to Jess Chermak and Sawyer Earwood.
Jess.
So that was great. And yeah, I mean, being involved in the associations that I mentioned was super helpful. And in terms of evolving, I've definitely broadened my outreach in terms of blogs, newsletters, webinars, social media, incorporated a lot of automation tools and software, data infused spreadsheets, became certified, in the strong interest inventory, 244, and the original strong interest inventory. And I've become more selective, with the clients I take in terms of focusing on fit, just because we may not necessarily be the best fit, and I'd love to refer folks like that to other IECs.
So tell us about what are some of your favorite aspects of working in college consulting? Obviously, you have your basis for comparison being the law.
Yeah, I love helping students, discover who they are, what they may want to major in college. Of course, most students change their major, but try to figure that out, and then watching students grow in confidence, and voice through the application process. It's definitely hard for students to write about themselves, but I help through that process. I love the creativity involved in helping students use stories and anecdotes from their lives to show their personal qualities and traits that colleges value so much. And I really love building long-term relationships with students and families, working with siblings and keeping in touch with them.
It's funny, I only dabble in the college essay periodically with students I know, but I'm wondering, I often think it's sort of as like a little bit of therapy at the beginning. Do you think that's to be so as you're talking with students and kind of getting to know them? Like part of it is getting to know their almost like personal story.
Definitely. And I do a lot of brainstorming with students and encourage them to do free writing, especially if they're stuck. And it can be therapeutic, definitely. And there's certainly things that are best left on drafts or in ideas, and maybe not as appropriate for college essays. But it definitely, to your point, Amy, can help students get certain things out, and we may be able to use them in different parts of the application for sure.
Yeah, I think that we see that on the test prep side as well.
Yeah.
It's a lot of managing anxiety and things like that. There's therapy involved in all kinds of coaching, especially just because this is everything that we do to support students on the path to college. We're helping them understand themselves a bit more.
Right.
And that's a big part of, I think, therapy. I would.
Hopefully.
All right. Steve, what are some of your least favorite parts of working in college admissions?
Well, I've been fortunate, so I haven't had too many, issues that I would say were negative. But parents and to some extent students, but often parents have a lot of anxiety about the process, and that can be stressful, especially if they have unrealistic expectations. But I really love being a calming influence. And probably the biggest frustration is colleges can be inconsistent in their admissions policies and practices, and also not communicating them that clearly often. And I realize that, like school-based counselors, admission officers at colleges are often overworked and their caseloads are expanding. So it is tough on their end, but there is a lot of inconsistency and sometimes lack of transparency, not necessarily intentionally on the part of colleges.
So what kind of insights would you share with someone maybe considering or, that's a current independent educational consultant or maybe a future one?
I would say definitely continue learning and staying current for all IECs. Admissions is a dynamic process. I'm sure a lot like test prep, things are changing every week or every day sometimes. So staying on top of things. In terms of a future or new IECs, I think developing a standardized curriculum and work plan that can be customized for each student and family is really helpful. So the concept of really staying organized and structured, but also building flexibility into the process because we want to meet students and families where they are. People start at different times. One of the biggest things for me that's been awesome is finding community and peer groups to collaborate with. So certainly, IECA, HECA, SACAC, the Southern Association for College Admission Counseling, those groups have been great to connect with, as well as community and peer groups, more informal ones with other college counselors. I have a group from my UCLA college counseling certificate program that we meet a couple times a week. I have another group, mostly East Coast IECs that meet, and that's just a great way to learn from each other and continue to build community.
I think that is a ton of really smart advice. Steve, the last question we want to ask is the most fun. What is something most of your colleagues would be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I'm a huge music fan, and back a while ago when I was clerking for a federal judge, so had a little more normal hours than maybe as a practicing attorney. I used to write music reviews for Atlanta's free weekly newspaper called Creative Loafing, RIP. At least the print version. They have some online presence still, but great name also. But I love doing that. Sometimes interviewing musicians, sometimes writing up a concert, or just writing up a new CD. Which for those newer listeners out there, definitely used to be the way we would listen to music. And then on a related note, I've always loved making music mixes. Now on Spotify,
Not
prior.
cassettes.
Now, are you mixes as in like sequential mixes, or do you do mashups?
Definitely started off on cassettes and then burning CDs and now Spotify. But
Now we're all dating ourselves.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
More
Mixtape master here.
Yeah, no 8 tracks though.
Oh, good.
Taking full length songs and sometimes a couple in a row by the same artist. Sometimes maybe just one artist and then move on to the next one. It could be any number of genres. It could be classic rock, alternative, Americana, roots. So I have fun with those, making mixes for friends and family and myself.
That's fantastic. When you were a music reviewer, did that mean you got to go to all the shows, you got backstage at the little clubs and really got a chance to know the local artists?
Definitely not I didn't go to big time shows. The artists I met tended to be ones who would perform in, 150, 200 person places. Sometimes I sat down with them in person and interviewed them. Sometimes, I called them on the phone and interviewed them. But I was not a big time music critic, I guess, put it that way. But I definitely enjoyed it as a side hustle and a hobby.
That's fantastic, Steve. We could talk about you all day. Unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
If listeners would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
So my website is tappercollegecounseling.com, and there's a contact form, or you can email me at steve@tappercollegecounseling.com.
Awesome. We hope you enjoyed this discussion as much as we did. Be sure to join us for another fascinating topic and guest on the next Tests and the Rest.
Did you enjoy this episode as much as we did? Find expanded links and more for this and all of our episodes at our show page at testsandtherest.com. While you're there, be sure to explore everything the larger TestBright site has to offer, including real, expert, unbiased answers to the toughest admissions testing questions. Of course, we'd love for you to rate, review, and subscribe to Tests and the Rest on your favorite podcast platform. If there's a topic or guest you'd like us to feature, just let us know and spread the word.